Hello and welcome to Allot 360 Analysts and Experts. I'm Michael Schachter, and today we're going to discuss cybersecurity with Jarad Carleton, Principal Analyst at Frost Sullivan, in the context of 5G. Jarad, I'd like you to meet Itai Weissman, Vice President of Partner Relations at Allot. So Itai, I see the whole role for the CSPs in terms of ensuring a trusted connection in this world of 5G and IoT and so on, but Allot is coming at this from a DPI perspective, and in the 5G architecture, there isn't really a traffic detection function anymore. So how does Allot's solution, how do they fit into this new paradigm?
First of all, from looking at the architecture, then there is a traffic detection functionality. It's just within another function that's called a UPF. But it can be a UPF with TDF standalone. Only for functionality of TDF. The question is not really whether it is or isn't in the standard and how it manifests itself there, but rather whether it is needed. And in 5G, we actually see an even bigger need for a DPI function, because all of the concept of 5G is service-based networks. And you have to be able to assure SLA to every service that runs within the network. SLA is measured as the experience the service is having. And this is not about retransmits, delays, packet drops, or bandwidth. It's about if I'm watching video, whether I experience stalls and whether I had resolution drops. If I'm in a car to everything situation, how many messages arrived in time, how many messages were lost. So all of these are basically measurements that are aimed to ensure the correct SLA of the service. And the entire network is managed based on these measurements. So if you want to scale up, you need to scale up only when you have an actual resource need that affects the QoE. You also need to understand whether scale up will help or whether you need to do closed loop automation and correct something internally within the system. This is exactly where Allot DPI comes into place. We are measuring QoE, creating QoE profile for every service. We understand when there is a QoE change. We understand where the change, what is the root cause of the change, and we know how to take measures to correct it. The measures can be internal, so we don't assign more resources, but we correct it using network management tools, or it can be external using the 5G mechanism where we're telling the 5G network to spin out another element at a specific point where resources are needed, or obviously a combination of the two. And we definitely see these needs in networks that are service-based rather than KPI-based.
Looking forward, as 5G does become more widespread, won't the combination of massive IoT deployment and this bigger pipe actually exacerbate the security issues?
Yes, so some of the security issues are definitely going to be impacted by the huge attack space. In 5G, we're expecting about 1 million devices per square kilometers. These are IoT devices. Most of them have very low security standards built into it. Some of them were even manufactured 7 years ago. Those that are manufactured today are expected to be there for 10 years. So we cannot expect the device to take care of its own security. And such a huge attack surface is basically a huge opportunity for attackers. Just imagine somebody infecting with a relatively simple attack 2 million IoT devices. He can then create a DDoS attack that will simply overwhelm the entire network. Every device can do 1 gigabit per second of DDoS attack, attacking the network itself. This is a huge threat. Okay? And you cannot count on the IoT devices to provide the security. It's not like in the handset world, where Android and Apple are taking care of 90% of the security issues. You will have to have embedded network mechanisms that automatically detect when you have a potential device at risk and take the actions to eliminate the risk while maintaining the service to the device, because you don't want to just block 1 million devices.
Yeah, and this is a really good point. When you think about the number of devices that are connecting to 5G, the new networks that are being rolled out today and the future ones that will be rolled out around the world, you think about the sheer number. There are more of these devices than there are people in the world, and more of them are coming online every day. You just mentioned that some of these devices are up to 7 or 10 years old. We just did some work taking a look at issues around connected buildings. And some of those devices are actually built to be in use for up to 15 to 20 years. So in certain situations, these devices, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily old and outdated. They still do what they were intended to do at manufacture, but they're also intended to last a much longer time. And when you have something like that built to last such a long time, there are inevitably issues that come up in the future that are security related, that require patching. And as we've seen, patching doesn't happen in the IoT world as it does, for example, with laptops or your smartphones, if you have certain models that allow you to do those kinds of updates.
Definitely. And just imagine the first use case. It's not the most important one, but it's the first use case that is being launched. It's fixed wireless. Fixed wireless are home routers that are connected to the wireless network. This router can do up to 10 gigabits per second in theory, in practice between 500 to 1 gigabit per second. A simple Mirai attack, open code can affect it. Now imagine just 500K of these attacking the wireless network. The recent attack was about 900K routers. It attacked the fixed network, so the fixed could manage it. But a mobile network will not be able to sustain such an attack.
Yeah. We've looked at some of these issues in previous projects that I've done for a cybersecurity working group at a mobile telecom interest organization. And one of the key issues that we saw was when you don't have IoT devices properly secured or even properly coded to do what they're supposed to do, then all of a sudden they start flooding the network with more packets. And depending on the concentration of these IoT devices that are problematic or have been incorporated into a botnet, if you are an intelligent attacker and you know the layout of a particular area, it is theoretically possible for you to take down pointed areas of a network. And when you think about issues around public safety, for example, that becomes really problematic.
So I think we have a good view on the dangers and the threats, but Itai, what are the new interesting service opportunities? Let's look at the positive side of 5G that we can be looking forward to.
So actually these dangers and threats creates a very big opportunity for the CSP. For the first time in quite a lot of time, the network is a real asset in order to provide security services. Because if we're talking about things like managing, controlling IoT devices in order to secure the network and the service, it has to be as close as possible to the IoT device. And the network in 5G allows you to do that. So you can deploy some security measures very close to the IoT attack at the network edge, automatically identify using machine learning and artificial intelligence tools that a device is misbehaving, and then take the action to prevent the effects of the misbehavior while at the same time allowing the service for the device. This is one aspect. In terms of security, they can protect their own network, and you look at it as an internal service aimed to ensure the network service. They can sell it to enterprises as an IoT security service, okay, allowing them to understand what devices are possibly infected, what are they doing, what are the costs that they are creating to the service. For example, a point of sale device that is infected, instead of doing 100 megabytes per month, can start doing 10 gigabytes per month. Somebody needs to pay for it. That's a big concern for many of these service operators, and even today there are many disputes around such things. So you have these two elements, and you have the third, which is actually the consumer space, because with 5G, fixed wireless becomes a kind of a competition for the fixed operators. And they are going to deploy routers at home that connect via the mobile network. And the home is like today, it's a mini IT organization. You have 20 to 30 devices at least in a regular home that are all connected. You have your PlayStation, your streamer, your TVs, your whatever. You're not even aware of the amount of devices that you have. And this is an opportunity for the operator to build on their presence at the home and provide security to the home environment. And again, it does two things. One, generates more revenues from the home subscribers by providing a service that has a real perceived value. And the second is protecting their own network from possible attacks coming from the fixed wireless.
I think this also gets into an issue of maybe the consumers aren't willing to necessarily pay for this type of value-added service, but should the CSP include that into the bundled price, because we're talking about something that is for the broader public good in the end. And I think that that's another question that maybe in certain geographic markets, governments may in the end tell CSPs, look, this is great technology we have with 5G, but we need a little bit more of a proactive security stance, and we need the CSPs to take a step forward in helping to protect society from bringing these networks down through ignorance of what's going on in their own homes with connected devices.
So regulation is definitely a driver in this market, and we do see quite a lot of regulation starting to appear. We do also see that end users are willing to pay. They're not willing to pay off the bat because they don't understand the risk. But once you put something and you show them what's happening, and you map the devices in their house, and you show them that, okay, I blocked X ransomware attacks, and I blocked this, and I blocked that, they become aware of the risk. And the CSP does not need to invest a lot in order to create this awareness, because the service is there. All he has to do is engage.
You have a good point. We've taken a look at some issues around technologies that go into a smart home. And when those technologies are not properly secured, human beings being what they are, they'll name devices that are logical to the human brain, such as children's room, parents' room, office, etc. And when some of these devices have been infected with malware, it's possible not only for them to be incorporated into a botnet, but also for let's say, enterprising cyber adversaries in specific areas to figure out when the parents are home, when the children are home, when the normal schedule is of individuals being present in the house. So all of these things, even though it seems kind of like a science fiction Hollywood movie, this is the reality that all of us are moving into today. And so we really need to think about securing these devices in our home if we want to maintain our privacy and security.
So I see the picture of the opportunities and the security issues, the digital trust that we discussed. But it seems that at this stage, it's all about rolling out and the network vendors really interacting with the CSPs. How do you see Allot kind of breaking into the 5G space at this point in the cycle?
Also, the first item is around the service-based network and the management of quality of experience and ensuring SLA. So that's with, regardless of security, that's with our TDF basic offering. This is something that they will need to have in order to maintain their 5G slices and to maintain even the basic free services that they are talking about now in 5G, the mobile broadband, the critical machine communication, and the mass machine communication. For all of these services, you need the capabilities I mentioned before for managing QoE that is tailor-made for the service and making sure that it is available at any given time. On top of that, one of the first things that they are launching, for example, is fixed wireless. Fixed wireless is a great opportunity for security. And this is done even before they will deploy any of the IoT or the advanced IoT capabilities. So they can start selling security to their consumers. And then as they progress and start developing services, IoT services, which by the way, they already developed the infrastructure for today. So part of this infrastructure is the security. And they are already building it and they are already working on selling it even before all of the network end-to-end is available. And they are bringing partners into the equation. And this is where Allot also fits as the security layer within the IoT service model.
Thank you, Jarad. Thank you, Itai. That's it for today. See you at the next Allot 360.